Welcome to the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show with celebrity nutrition expert, fitness Hall of Famer, and four-time New York Times bestselling author, JJ Virgin. JJ is a warrior mom whose knowledge and expertise have helped change hundreds of thousands of lives with over 3.5 million podcast downloads and appearances on Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, The Today Show, Rachel Ray, Larry King Live.
Whoa. This show is about you, not about me. I want to help you find practical, real-world ways to dial in your health and mindset so you can finally lose that weight and feel strong and energized. Stop settling for less than your personal best. It's time to find out how to look and feel better than ever. And I'll be right here with you the whole way.
Today, we are welcoming back to the show one of my long time pals, Dr. Joe Mercola. I am super, beyond excited and kind of obsessed with this topic today. I'm obsessed with Joe's new book, Keto Fast, and it is one that you are going to want to have the hardcover of, the Kindle of. This is so amazing. He sent it to me early on, said, hey, review this, tell me what you think. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I am just floored by the information in there. So I'm bringing him on today. I can tell we're going to be doing more on this because there's so much to talk about. But what Dr. Joe Mercola has done has really deconstructed fasting, ketosis, intermittent fasting, and put together an easy-to-use plan that will make a major difference in your life. So he is going to be deconstructing that with you today. We are really excited about it. Before we dive in, let me tell you a little bit about him. We're welcoming him back to the show. We did a show before on oxidative stress. We'll link to it in the show notes. You'll definitely want to tune into that as well. The show notes for today are jjvirgin.com/KetoFast. And Joe has the #1 natural health website in the world. He educates and empowers millions of subscribers to take control of his health. He has really been the force out there helping to make changes in our crazy healthcare system. He's a New York Times bestselling author, frequent media personality, and a wellness champion and visionary, and just all around, can I say it, because I'm fortunate to call him friend, a generous, kind, giving soul. He's done so much to help me and my family. And he is really one of the reasons that, if not the reason, I've been able to get my message out to the world, because early on, we went out to dinner and he sat down and told me what I needed to do to impact more people. He is just a kind, awesome human. So I am super excited to have him with us today. Now, before we jump in, I want to do a shout out to ND number 33, who says, life education, 5-star review in Apple Podcasts, straightforward information about optimal health and well-being. I enjoy your podcast very much. You know how much I love shouting people out. I'd love to shout you out. So if you've not had a chance yet to review the show, jump on over to iTunes. While you're there, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my awesome guests. All right, welcome back, Dr. Joe Mercola. I am so excited to talk about fasting with you. I can't stand it.
Me too. I love it.
Now, full disclosure, I have been obsessed with your book that's not out yet, Keto Fast, although it might be when this podcast comes out. And it is, really digging into ketogenic diets, fasting, intermittent fasting. It is, oh my gosh, it is fantastic. Fantastic. So great job on that. Thank you for that. It is the resource everybody needs. Let's dive in first about fasting, because I see people going just like, okay, I'm going to fast, but just diving into fasting without the right prep can be really dangerous. Why is that?
Great question. When I initially decided to write the book Keto Fast, I was under the belief that the most important metabolic intervention I've ever seen in my 30 plus years of clinical medicine was multi-day water fasting. And although I still believe that it's a powerful tool, I think it's dangerous for most people. And I do not recommend it unless under very specific, unusual circumstances. That's the historical framework for it. And the reason I reached that conclusion is as I was studying and compiling the literature and information, I realized that that we live in the 21st century. So multi-day water fasting historically has been done for centuries. I mean, for thousands of years, cultures have done it. And with great results. But guess what? 21st century, we have over 80,000 chemicals in our environment. And most of them are fat soluble. They stick in our fat. So when you're multi-day water fasting, you're going to release these toxins and you're not eating any food. So you're not going to give your body the nutrients it requires to successfully change those toxin molecules so that you can effectively eliminate them from your body. And instead, they'll cause a lot of damage. So that's one of the reasons.
And also, I mean, when 1,000 years ago, we were more metabolically flexible. We were used to skipping meals. We weren't getting up and going, it's breakfast time, and then I have to have my snack, right?
No. And what Keto Fast does is essentially replicates ancient historical practices in a 21st century framework, because essentially, virtually, unless you're really clued in, almost no one is eating less than 12 hours a day. I mean, Sachin Panda's work, who's out at the Salk Institute in California, great book. He wrote The Circadian Clock. He did some research and found that 90% of the people eat over 12 hours a day. 90% of the people.
Because no one's by the way, think back even 5 or 10 years ago, no one was talking about the fact that we needed to do any kind of time restricted eating. Ever. It was more people were concerned, don't let yourself get hungry. Like some horrible thing would happen if you got hungry,
It's still taught by maybe the majority of dietitians to eat around the clock. That's what they're telling people to do. And it's a prescription for disaster, metabolic disaster.
Yeah, craziness. But I remember way back when I was on Dr. Phil, it was like you had to have breakfast, a snack, lunch, a snack, and you needed to have a snack before you went to bed, which is the craziest of all.
Which is the worst time to have a snack before can you imagine? 3 hours before you go to sleep.
Yeah. So, and let's hit that real quick because we're going to talk benefits of fat. We have so much to talk about, but I've said it. I want them to hear it from you. Why should you have that 3 to 4 hour fast before bedtime? Why is it important?
Because when you give your body fuel, it wants to create energy out of it. And if you're going to use energy, that's great. So that's why eating a big, healthy, good breakfast, if you're doing a lot of physical work and exertion, is a great idea, because you're going to use that energy. It's not going to go to waste. You're not going to create these excessive oxidative damage. But if you take it when you're going to sleep, you don't have a need for much energy. It's the lowest amount of energy used in the entire day. And you're going to back up the system, and it's going to create these free radicals, which are going to damage your DNA and your proteins and your cell membranes. And you're just going to die prematurely. That's just no way around it.
There you go. Yeah, have a snack at night, die prematurely. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially, now it may be minimal. It depends on your snack and what you're eating and with your other levels of health. So you can't, it's not like you're going to die, drop dead tomorrow, but it's definitely not helping you. It's not pushing your body in the right direction. Now, you can get away with anything.
That.
No,
yeah.
No, you don't. Well, you need it if you want to accelerate your death rate. But
all right. Now, fasting benefits, because I know as you started to get in this and you said it was one of the most therapeutic things,
it is.
And you're going to show us how to do this in a way that's simpler to implement and be compliant to. But what are some of the benefits of fasting?
Before we go into the benefits, let's just finish up on the keto fast, because you can get these benefits, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, like 50 to 100 times a year. When you're doing multi-day water fasting, you can, if you're really overweight, maybe you can do it once a month, a 5-day water fast, so you do 10 times a year, but most people aren't going to do that. So most people are going to do it once a quarter, once every year, or, maybe 4 times a year. So maybe 20 days. This way you can get these benefits 50 to 100 times a year. What are the benefits? 2 primary ones. First, you and I are both interested in longevity, so it's going to activate your stem cells. Those are the cells in your body that can repair and regenerate the damaged tissue you have, and that's exactly what you want to do. So stem cell activation is one of the biggest in my perspective. And then secondly is the cleanup process. There's this word derived from the Greek words for self-eating. It's called autophagy. And it is a process that your body goes through, if you're healthy, to clean up and digest these fragments within your cell, like damaged mitochondria and organelles and proteins that don't function anymore. They're just hanging around, and in many cases creating inflammation and oxidative stress, and you're just damaging your body. You can't get rid of them. But when you activate autophagy, your body is able to eliminate them, and then you've got your stem cells activated so that you can replace them. And there's a very specific timing and sequence that I go into that I think I've uncovered. JJ, you don't even have the newest version. I just edited it this week and had them insert the modification of a really important macronutrient, the protein content on that, which is a radical revision that I discovered. I figured it out myself. I didn't read it anywhere, or most of the stuff were just on the shoulders of giants, because most of the Keto Fast came from other people. But this one I figured out myself just through rigorous.
Are you going to share, or are you just going to keep this to yourself and let me age over here?
No, I'll share it with you, but I got to tell you what's a Keto Fast first, right?
Okay.
Got to know that. So the first thing, the most important thing in the book, is we started to talk about, it's a compress your eating window. That means you eat all your calories within 6 to 8 hours. Now you say, well, what if I just do 12 hours? Well, you're probably not getting any benefits. 14 is a little better, but Jason Fung, who is an enormously well-respected researcher and a friend of mine, and I both agree that 16 to 18 hours is probably the sweet spot. So you do that every day. Once you've done that, now if you're just new to this and you start doing it,
you do that every single day, or do you rotate that?
No, you do that all the time. That's the base.
Okay.
Now, if you violate it a few times, at parties, social events, whatever, fine, not a big deal. But normally that's your base, 6 to 8 hours. So that means you maybe eat breakfast at 9 and your last meal of the day is at 3. That's 6 hours. If you're going to 8 hours.
And I love the way you just did that, because what I really look at with time-restricted feeding, and I think as we start to really understand more about, individuals' circadian rhythms, it's always made sense to me, if you're going to do this, skip the evening. I see people that are having their first meal around 12 or 1 and then having this thing at 7 or 8. I'm like, no, don't do that way.
That's the wrong way. You got it. That is the wrong way, for the reasons we mentioned earlier. So the first step is compress your eating window for at least 4 weeks. Now, if you've not done anything before, the first few weeks are going to be hard, because you're going to be not metabolically flexible, and you won't be able to metabolize fat, so you'll be hungry, tired, and you can take some MCT oil, specifically C8, and that would help. But in those times, but you have to do that for 4 weeks, and you cannot do. You can, but I do not recommend it at all until you are metabolically flexible. So you're going into this. So say you've done this for a month. You're eating at 9. You're finished at 3. So your last meal was at 3. You wake up in the morning. You have a meal. That meal consists of a number of calories, anywhere from 300 to 600, and you figure it out by taking your lean body mass and you multiplying that by 3.5, and you'll come up with a number. Say it's 600 calories.
Okay, let's define lean body mass for everybody.
Lean body mass is how much muscle you have, or actually the percentage of fat minus 100. So if you're 20% fat, you're 80% lean body mass. So then you would multiply the lean body mass, which is 80%, times your weight to get lean body mass. So if you're 150 pounds, multiply it times 0.8, and that would be whatever that is, 30 or something.
I know, having to do math on the fly, but super important for people to understand. You cannot just take your weight here. It's very important that you're looking at your lean body mass, taking fat out of the equation. Okay.
So once you have that number, the number of calories, then this is the key. And then you don't eat for 24 hours. So essentially what you're doing is you're creating this window of 42 hours where you're only having 300 to 600 calories. So that type of eating strategy, which you can do twice a week easily, will deplete the stores of sugar in your liver called glycogen. You will not deplete your glycogen stores in your liver in an 18-hour daily intermittent fast. You still have plenty of glycogen left. But when you go 42 hours, you'll hit it. And then your autophagy will go through the roof. Your NAD plus levels, which the whole area will go up by 30%. You get all this metabolic magic that occurs, and you can do it twice a week. And you'll just you'll just reap these benefits. You radically reduce your risk of chronic degenerative disease. So here's the key that I figured out. So what do those 600 calories consist of? Well, ideally, you want have the least amount of carbs you can have. Ideally, if you can keep it under 10 grams of carbs, that would be the best, because then you're not going to replete your glycogen stores. You just won't. So you wouldn't want to have like a grapefruit or orange or a mango or something. Is your 600?
So your carbs would come from non-starchy vegetables.
Well, yes, that's right. Primarily non-starchy vegetables or seeds or nuts. Basically, almost all foods have carbs unless it's pure fat like coconut oil or something. But you want to keep those really low, and then you keep,
Okay.
and then you figure out whatever your daily protein requirement is, which is typically, if you're under 60 or so, about 0.8 grams per kilogram, or half a gram per pound of lean body mass, simply around there. And that's how much protein you eat in a day. Because if you eat too much protein, that's a problem. So whatever your normal protein intake is, like in my case, it's like about 100 grams of protein a day is what I typically, 80 to 100. It depends on if I'm working out or not. So I'll have half of that. So 40 grams of protein. This is the key. Because it's commonly thought that would not be a good idea or strategy. And I'll tell you why I went against the conventional wisdom on this. Because protein, especially if it's not from an animal source, so you wouldn't want to have a piece of ribeye or whey protein, because it's really high in these specific amino acids called branched chain amino acids like leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And those specific amino acids are very anabolic. In other words, they activate this pathway called mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin. And when that's activated, it inhibits autophagy. So that's the last thing you want to do, which is why most people recommend low protein too. But if you're careful with the protein,
but it's not low protein; it's low animal protein and doing a moderate amount.
Well, more specifically, low branched chain amino acids. So those are highest in animal protein. So what would be a good one, even though it's an animal protein, is collagen. Collagen has very few branched chains. It's it's really great support. It's got mostly proline and glycine, hydroxyproline. And it's great support for your connective tissue. So you can have some of that. We make a vegan chocolate protein that's out of this world. It literally tastes like a chocolate shake. So I have one of those. I have some vegan, and I have some fermented chlorella. So like I have 40 grams of protein, which is totally counterintuitive. And I noticed I'm able to retain more lean body mass, and I don't lose as much mass during my twice a week partial fast. And then you'd make up the rest of it with fat. If you need more fat, you can use some coconut oil or MCT oil, and then you're off to the races, and you just do that. And it's so easy, because normally you're eating, you're eating it at 9, saying you stop at 3. Well, you're finished at 10, and you're only skipping one meal, and you normally stop eating at 3 anyway. So it's not like you're dead hungry, and you wake up and you're in your normal routine. So it's not like hardly any denial or sacrifice. It's just
right. Well, and the important thing is you've stepped into it. So what I've been working with people on is step 1. We need to have you eating protein, fat, and fiber, and knock out the snacks, and start drinking water in between meals. So you get used to having 2 to 3 meals a day and not snacking, and having, starting to eat breakfast, hour or 2 or 3 after you wake up, and dinner, get that dinner down earlier. So that's the first step, is to start to work on that, get metabolic flexibility. And so by the time you come here, this is easy. And I think the other thing, Joe, is people are so afraid of feeling a little hunger. And, I was...
you're not hungry when you do it. You're just not.
Well, but the other part of it too is, what if you change that concept too? Because I think a lot of times we're thinking we're hungry, we're not hungry, we're thirsty. But I heard Dr. Joel Kahn say, hunger equals younger. And I thought, what if we start to realize a little bit of hunger is not, like, we've been trained in society, don't ever be hungry. And I'm like, this is silly. It's fine to be a little bit hungry.
When you're metabolically flexible, and especially if you have excess body fat, like most of the country,
you're not going to have that blood sugar dump that you have. That
your metabolic flexibility will allow you to metabolize that fat and burn it as fuel, and that hunger really isn't that big of an issue. It's mostly a psychological hunger. You're like, yeah, I sure would like this, but it's not like a craving, like a starvation hunger, like it is.
Right? Don't you think a lot of the hunger that you're feeling before you become metabolically flexible is not hunger at all? It's either blood sugar issues, insulin resistance, cravings. It's not hunger.
No, I would disagree. That is true, authentic hunger, because your body doesn't have fuel. It's requiring fuel. It's demanding you get fuel, and the only fuel it can burn is sugar. So that's
true. You can't. Yeah, good point. Yeah, because you cannot access your stored fat for fuel. You can't get there.
Yeah. But when you're metabolically flexible and you can, then it's psychological.
Got it. That's awesome. I'm glad I brought that up and you corrected me there. All right. So that's the framework for it. That's all in the book. And have you been using this with people yet, or has this been tested on yourself? Like, what have you seen so far doing this? Have you been able to try it with some other people?
Well, this is again, I didn't create this. This is a revision of a lot of other people's work. Kristen Varaday out of the University of Illinois, who I've interviewed him previously on my podcast, came up with the alternate day fast. She is pretty clueless with respect to the details of nutrition that we understand, but she's a really good researcher and a sweetheart. And but she doesn't understand. I mean, she's just about calories. So you could have a McDonald's and a Coke, and she doesn't care. So, but even doing that works. She have your regular calories and then go to 500 calories the next day, and it's alternate day fasting, and she got unbelievable results with that. As did Jason Fung. I don't know if you saw his case report in British Medical Journal. He had 3 patients with diabetes for more than up to 25 years who were on insulin. They weren't insulin dependent. They were just on insulin. 3 patients. All he did was compress their eating window and change, types of foods. All of them were off insulin. That's it.
Well, don't you think that was the big appeal when the 5-2 diet first came out? It was like, I did a little thing on the Today Show with David Chinchenko, and I thought, this is so confusing, David, because I was doing something around sugar impact. They put us together, and it was an odd little segment, but basically he had moved to the 5-2 diet type of thing with his next book, saying you can eat whatever. It's, how he was, eat this, not that. Now he was like, eat that, but just eat it during this time period. I go, well, that's silly. What if you do, like, to me, like, look at time restricted eating and then eat the right stuff in the window. Don't go to eat a bunch of garbage, which is what they were selling.
It's the same thing with Kristen Varaday. They got the framework correct. They just didn't understand the important details. So, and you're right. The 5-2 diet was essentially popularized by Michael Mosley, who's an MD who I also interviewed previously. And he had a brilliant title of his book. He called it The Fast Diet, which is really brilliant if you think about it. This is a revision of that, okay? It's basically the fast diet. It's 5 days a week you're eating regularly, and then 2 days a week you're partial fasting. I've just changed it up a little bit and compressed the eating window and gave real specific details on how to do it and help people understand the importance of how activating autophagy is such a key issue. Here's the other thing, JJ, because after your partial fast, you won't believe what happens. So you've probably got an Oura ring, so you can figure this thing out, but sleep will go through the roof. Your resting heart rate, the lowest resting heart rate you have, will occur very early in the night. Your recovery rate and your readiness index will go through the roof, and you'll be able to just do massive strength training and just have an incredible workout the day after a partial fast, which is the day when you want to regenerate and repair. So that's when you have the meat or the extra protein and lots of carbs. That's when you feast, essentially. So this is like, twice a week you're feasting. I mean, literally having more food than you would ever have. It's kind of fun. And then you actually gain more muscle mass, which is really important.
Yeah, especially as we age, to be able to do that. So I'm thinking back, I did an interview with Walter Longo.
He's passionate. He advocated the fasting mimicking diet, which is what I was going to do initially. Then I talked to him and he said, you can't do that, otherwise we're going to sue the pants off you because it's trademarked.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you've taken all of this information, synthesized it, and then made it upgraded it and updated it and made it very user friendly.
Yes.
Kind of pulled all the best science together, like time restricted eating, but let's eat the right stuff during the time restricted. Do the fasting, but let's get in protein so that we won't lose muscle mass. Like, what are you pulled that all together in an absolutely brilliant way. And the thing that I loved about this book that's so key is helping people understand why you don't just go on a fast, that you must prepare. I call it priming the pump. If you want to do a ketogenic diet, if you want to do fasting, you don't just go, I'm going to start that tomorrow when you've been eating a crappy diet, you're insulin resistant. You have to, it's a continuum to get to that place. And that's why people try these things and fail, because they haven't done the prep work to get there. so that they can do them correctly. So I really love that you took that time to put that in there so people will understand what that is and what they need to do, and then made this so clear as to why you want to do it, but how to do it in a very, you can do this. This is a very easy thing to put into place. And that's fantastic.
It's a lot easier than the fasting mimicking diet as promoted by Longo, and less expensive. I mean, it's $300 for his 5-day thing, Prolon, which is like, really, really expensive. And it's only a few hundred calories, so it's not like a lot of food. And you are hungry, and you still have all the metabolic challenges of detox, because the other thing that protein intake does on that partial fast that I neglected to mention is that it fuels your detox pathway so that you're able to properly metabolize these toxins that are released while you're fasting.
Yeah, which is hugely important, and that, people just aren't talking about that. So glad to hear all this. I know that we have a surprise for everybody, yet to be determined surprise that you will be getting.
I created this weekend because I just put it in the book. It's the end of chapter 8. It's a 1-page, 8-point summary of how to do this. 8 points.
Oh, that's perfect. I want that now, by the way. So I need to review that, Joe, before we give that to everybody. Kidding. But I'd love to see that as soon as you have it. We would love to give that to everybody. That's fabulous. So we will put that in at jjvirgin.com/KetoFast. All the notes from this, link to the book. This is my big health book of 2019. This is the book. And I was telling Joe before, I get sent books every single day, and most books I just go put on the shelf. This book has been the book that I've been obsessed with. I think you gave it to me last year, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I don't normally read on my computer. It's on my laptop. So then I had to make a point, but I was like, it is that good. I was like, it is incredible. So I can't wait to have it where I can drag it around with me in a real book.
Let me give you the tech workaround for that. You just get a Kindle, and you can upload Word files or PDF files to your Kindle, and then you can read on your Kindle.
I have a Kindle. I just never thought of putting it over there.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'm old school, man. When I get a book I really love, I want to have the book on my Kindle, but I also like the real book. I like to highlight it, earmark it. I want the book.
If you send me an endorsement for the book that we can put on Amazon, I will send you a draft, a print book as soon as I get it, okay?
You got it. All right. I sent you an endorsement already.
You did? Okay, then you got it. Okay.
I did. So send it on over. All right. Okay. So again, you will be getting that at jjvirgin.com/KetoFast. Joe, we have to have you back more and more and more. You're going to be a regular. You just are fantastic. You have such a gift, first of all, for being an amazing researcher and really bringing the science out in a world where it can get really confusing, but then making that so easy to use and easy to understand. So thank you for that. You are a gift to all of us.
Yeah, thank you for those kind words, but all I can say is you haven't seen anything yet.
I'm a little afraid of this 1,000-page book that's only halfway through.
It's going to probably take me a year to translate because it's like crazy. But I'm reading. I figured out this RSS feed that I could have access to. That every day I'm searching like 80 terms on PubMed, and I find about 5 to 10 papers that were published today on those terms. It's like and it's seamless. I just presents it to me in one feed. It's just crazy.
Wow. Well, all I have to do is keep in touch with you, and then it all comes to me in easy, digestible points that I can put into action and give to the community. So there you go.
I look forward to being at your event in August.
I know you're there. You are now. You've publicly committed, so we are super excited about that. And again, jjvirgin.com/KetoFast. And after the break, I'll be answering listeners' questions. So stay with me. Welcome back. This is the time where I answer a listener's question, and I talk a lot about being a sugar burner versus a fat burner. In fact, that is what kind of the foundation of the sugar impact diet is how do you take a sugar burner and turn them into a fat burner? You heard Dr. Joe Mercola talk about the fact that probably 85% of us are not burning fat. Not on my watch, man. We are fat burners here. But this came up the other day from Sean. JJ, I'm a sugar burner. What do I need to do to become a fat burner? And first off, how do you know you're a sugar burner? Let me give you some indicators that you are a sugar burner. You're hungry. you cannot go between meals. Like you can't go more than 2 to 3 hours before you start to feel hungry again. And that's because your body cannot access stored fat for fuel. When you've got higher insulin, your body cannot get into the fat cells. Think of them just like the doors are locked. So even though you're eating, you're going, well, I just ate. Why am I hungry? That's why. When you lose weight, you do not lose it off your waist. You lose it off your arms and legs. You look like a potato on stilts because you can't burn off stored belly fat. That's another sign. Unstable energy, you get hangry. Like, you go a couple hours between meals and you are hangry. You are really frustrated. Fatigue, poor energy, those are big signs. Food cravings, blood sugar dips, brain fog, but the classic hallmarks are not being able to go more than 2 to 3 hours between a meal and not being able to burn off that belly fat. All right. So clearly this is not where we want to be. We want to be a fat burner. We want to be able to be metabolically flexible, to be able to miss a meal and not feel like you're going to go postal. In fact, to be able to forget that did I eat lunch? Because you're so metabolically flexible. Super duper important. I wrote the Sugar Impact Diet to help you get there. Joe talked about today, you don't just dive into fasting. You don't dive into intermittent fasting. You've got to get metabolically flexible first. And so the first thing I teach people to do is identify where sugars are sneaking in, identify the higher carbohydrates foods, the more processed refined. Let's start to swap those out for lower sugar impact foods while we're eating from the trifecta, protein, fat, and fiber to help balance blood sugar and improve satiety, and then stretching out the time in between when you eat so that you're getting to the point where you're eating 2 to 3 meals a day rather than 3 meals and 2 to 3 snacks. And you're able to have breakfast a little bit later and dinner earlier so that you really can, at the very least, my first goal is to get you having a 12-hour eating window and then get it to a 10-hour eating window. And then eventually till we get it to that 6 to 8 hour feeding window. So there you go. That's how you do it. Now, if you have not yet subscribed to the show, you do not want to miss all this goodness. So make sure you pop on over to iTunes. While you're there, leave a review so I can do a shout out for you. And I will see you next week. Bye.
That's all for this episode of the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show, which marks another step towards a healthier body and mind. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and we'll talk to you next week.